Welcome to our first episode of Street Appeal, where you guys send me in your submissions and I'll review the video and give you a rundown on what I think is best for the property. So we've got this place here. It looks like a new build, rendered walls, sort of modern design. Right off the bat, unfortunately, there looks to be a bit of damage over here on the letterbox right in the corner there. You can see a car's hit it or something. Look at that. Sorry that happened. And it looks like the concrete's just been laid recently because you can see the acid boxes there where they've got their danger tape that went across that. So right off the bat, it looks like we have vincas or annuals that were planted there once at the very start of the build to sort of soften this. Actually could just be weeds. And I see there's couch grass all growing around the property. That is not a good sign. You need to get rid of that as soon as possible, unless of course you're laying grass. So usually, always we recommend a perimeter path around the structure because you want to keep the water away from the structure. So when rain comes down, you want it to hit your paving perimeter path that's against the building and take the water away. You don't want the rain sort of accumulating around this area and creating like a damp effect against your walls. That's not what we want. So right off the bat, I would consider putting a perimeter path around here and just returning to this fence here so that you can access all your services here easily whilst not having to walk across the garden there. So, and then after the path, I would then soften it with a sort of higher hedge here and then a lower flower at the front there. So if we did this, we would have a path there and then a hedge there and then some cool flowers on the ground there, and I'd also soften this with some flowers. There's no letterbox here. I'm guessing the letterbox is going to get cut in or put there soon. And then I would consider a more higher sort of tree of some sort right there, and then another hedge to try and soften this fence right there. And then I would continue with garden around this end, or probably the best thing would be lawn actually. So lawn starting about there and going all the way around. So we'll just delete all of my doodling for now and continue around the corner. Coming around the corner, get to about here, yeah, so from about there, I put the tree, a decent sized tree, but I'd make it only go about 1.8 high because it's going to get quite close to the gutters there, and you don't want it too close to the services around there. There'll be a lot of stuff underground here too, so we just want like something small that we can control over time. Maybe a Chinese tallow or something has a very forgiving root ball and then just needs some human intervention to sort of cut it into shape as time goes on. And then down the bottom, I put some flowers around it. And then this whole area, I will just grass it. The whippersnipper coil doesn't wear out too much hitting it against that tin. It does make a loud, annoying sound. So what you could do, because it's so thin, there's no real room for a garden bed. So you could perhaps put a thin garden bed there and then put a hedge along there and then just have this wide enough for a lawnmower to do a pass there. And then I think it's just going to keep my, let's get rid of all of this. Okay, and then coming along the side, we're not going to see it, but you can see the gate is lacking a plinth here. I would also consider putting a step just outside the gate there, so you don't sort of just flop over when you come out and hit the ground. I would put like a limestone block or something just to keep it level there and have the step further out. Remember, a minimum size riser is 110 mil, I think, Australian regulations, so bear that in mind when you're putting in stairs and whatnot. But yeah, now let's get to the next video. So now we're on the inside of the garden. and we're looking at the house. Now, the finished floor level to the house differs from the street quite a bit. They must have had a reason for doing that, but it has caused this awkward level out the back. See under the gate there, where you have to build up this area here. Let's just pause this. Yeah, so it's where you have to sort of build up this area here to match that. Oh, how do we get to it? Where is it? I think it's right at the start. Yeah, there. You see, it ramps down here from the finished floor level of the house. So you'd have to build up this area. I'm guessing that the level of the slab will be about 50 mil below the top of this lip, usually. So they're going to have to put a thing across there, and a lot of dirt has to be added into here to boost up the levels. I can't be certain about that, but that's what it does seem like from the video. It's quite hard to gauge depth from videos, but also this is governing your levels a little bit as well, the sewerage inspection spot. And over here I would just put paving. I would just pave the side, and maybe something against the fence there, garden bed wise, because when the rain falls down you need it to drain out somewhere, and that's why you leave like a decent garden bed there for the water to drain out. At least 150, 200 mil would be the minimum. I know you're not left with much path, but it's just something you have to do to allow the water to drain. And remember that garden bed, the finished floor level of the garden bed, so let's just say this is your paving, it's on an angle from the house. The finished floor level of the garden bed has to just sit below the paving so that the water goes away from the house and lands into that paving, and then the ground sucks it up. If your garden bed is above, and especially hilling back like this, the water's going to come down the paving, it's going to grab that dirt there, and then it's going to seep it back onto your paving, and it's going to look foul. It's going to be a maintenance nightmare. So let's continue around the property now and find what else we can see. Now the client is thinking of putting decking here, but one thing to remember with decking, it does cause a lot more issues with the landscape. It's quite an expensive way to go, because you don't want all of your joists and beams and whatnot touching the dirt. So you have to put some posts there and sort of float the deck on that. Therefore, you have to pay special attention to your levels and making sure there isn't too much sand in there. But this place is actually quite ripe for decking because the levels are quite low here. You could transfer a bit of dirt over there if you need to, and then float the deck there. And how far you come out depends on what that patio is like. Let's have a look. Can we see? Okay, you can just see the post there. So I'm guessing the decking is going to come out to about there. And then again, I would have a perimeter path that goes out to that area there, because we don't want water against the structure ever. So we're having decking about there, and then I'd have the perimeter path continue down here. So that's going to drain over there. And here I would consider putting grass. And then against this fence all the way around here, I would have a garden bed. I'm going to actually neaten this up a little bit. So here I would put a garden bed around there. I divide the grass from the garden bed with the Form Boss steel edging. The reason I'd use the Form Boss steel edging is because you're really gasping for air. Like you really need space in a garden like this. So the Form Boss edging divides the two areas. It creates a seamless transition whilst not taking up too much space. If we were to use limestone, we'd take up a good 90 mil of space there just for the edge. And I know it doesn't seem like much, but to the eye, you want to minimize it as much as possible. So you just get a nice thin edge there with the metal edging. I would go for the steel galvanized, not the oxidized one. And then that would, then in the garden bed, I would put some plants. Where's the thing? And then in the garden bed, I would put a bit of height here. Not sure where the north arc is. I think it's behind us in this one. So therefore, I put things that can handle definitely full sun here. You could go with the tuckaroo trees. They would go quite well here. And then down the bottom, you could have some lomandras or something to fill the gaps, and then just to creep over the edge, you could put some cousin its or something, and they can creep over the edge a little bit. Full transparency, that you will experience a bit of trouble when you're whippersnipping around the lawn. You'll start to clip the casuarinas, so you have to be careful with that. So maybe you just have them creep up to the edging, not actually spill over into the lawn. Now, there is a choice of going artificial turf. We're not fans of artificial turf at all. I mean, we hate the stuff, but it does have its place, especially in back gardens where there's not much light at all, or if it's just too inconvenient to bring the lawnmower out to the back to do the job. So that's my take on this place. What else do we have here? It looks like there's a bit of dirt up against. Actually, here's a problem. I think we've got a problem here. It doesn't look like there's a plinth over here. Oh no, what have they done? Okay. It seems like the fence is stepping down here, and then this plinth hasn't continued around there. It seems like this fence is a lot lower. But the problem is, it does look like the slab is sitting there, which is about the same height as that. So if the dirt is going to be up against the fence here, these fences cannot retain dirt or weight at all. You cannot do that. So this fence is far too low and needs to be raised and needs to have one of these plinths. That's what it looks like from this video. Let's just take another cruise around. There we go. Yeah, no, that's bad. Yeah, it looks like we got a problem here. Okay, so yeah, this is not good. And look at the mess they leave on the fence, these poor people. All right, that fence is far too low. See, this one has accounted for the heights, and the one behind us has. Yeah, this fence needs to be raised, and what you need to find out is there enough strength in the structure for it to be raised? So can you take everything off and put these plinths here, but are these posts far enough into the ground with a big enough footing to actually take it? This house is not that far from the coast, so you need to take structural integrity very seriously, because the coastal winds in Perth are just gangster as all hell. They will destroy things. And this sand, the reason you can't have it against the fence is the fence isn't strong enough to retain dirt, and also the sand is going to rot the steel over time. It's going to accelerate the rot to the fence. So not only is it rotting the steel, it's also not structurally approved either. So that's double as bad, plus the sub base to your paving. When you put paving and all these things here, it's going to spill out into the next door neighbor, because it's not actually all sealed under here. There's a rail and little gaps where things can go out, so it's going to undermine the area. Definitely can't have that. So the only solution is to raise the fence, and we could put a steel retaining right against the fence and put it along here, and just put our stakes away from the footings of the posts. That's the other option, but it's a little bit ugly. I would look at hitting up the builder as to, yeah, it's an oversight from somebody, and maybe it's going to be changed anyway, and I'm just talking crap now and they're about to come and change it. I don't know, but that's just something I notice. So that's it for this street appeal. So I'd keep this one pretty basic decking, paving, softening the structure. You always want to soften structure, and you always want to have perimeter paths. The two rules that you guys should always remember. That's how you get a nice feel to an area and longevity on your structures. And I would go with real grass always, unless there's a pretty good reason that you can't have it, which is starving of light, or it's just too inconvenient to mow because you can't get the tools out there. Some of these places don't even have a way to get to the back these days. You can't get a barrier there, nothing. So, yeah, if you guys want a street appeal done, just follow the submission form or hit me up for the submission form. I can email it to you, and I'd like to do more of these segments to help people out so they understand more about landscaping. Also, this is why we charge for our quotes. When I come out, I notice all these things and I save you more money in the long run. Sometimes I uncover a bigger problem, it costs you more. Sorry about that. But that's just the way it is, I guess. Shit happens. Call me as early as possible, maybe. But I also come out and I'll map out the area and give you measurements on a PDF file so that you can either source other quotes or just get a better understanding of your space. Okay, well, thank you very much, and hope to hear from you all soon.